The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the training ship Starwind. Jake Morrison gripped the pilot controls as another asteroid came spinning toward them. His heart raced, but his hands stayed steady. This was what the dangerous Ship Academy was all about. Push harder, go faster, never give up. "Turn left now," shouted Amy Rodriguez from the engineer station. Her fingers danced over the control panels as she watched the ship's power levels. "We're losing energy to the shields." Jake pulled the ship hard to the left. The Starwind groaned under the stress, but it held together. Behind him, he could hear the alien cadets making their strange clicking and whistling sounds. The bug-like Clicktar was probably worried about the engine stress. The fish-like Splash was likely calculating their chances of survival. "Nice move, Morrison," said Ryan Kelly from the weapons station. The big guy from Texas always stayed calm during these training runs. "But we got 3 more rocks coming at us from the right." Sophie Turner looked up from her communication station. The blonde girl from California had joined the academy to learn about talking to aliens, but she was getting good at reading the battle computers too. "The simulation says we have 2 minutes to reach the safe zone," she called out. Commander Lisa Grant stood at the back of the bridge, watching everything with sharp eyes. She was the first human to become an instructor at the academy, and she never let them forget how hard she had worked to get there. The alien teachers hadn't wanted humans in their school at first. They thought humans were too wild, too unpredictable. "Focus on the mission," Grant said in her calm voice. "Don't let the pressure make you panic." Jake nodded and pushed the ship forward. The Starwind was a good ship, built by humans but fitted with alien technology. It could take a beating and keep flying, just like the humans who flew it. The asteroid field simulation was one of the hardest tests at the academy. Most species took months to master it. Humans had figured it out in weeks. The alien instructors said it was because humans were crazy enough to fly into danger without thinking. Jake thought it was because humans were smart enough to find a way through anything. "Incoming message from Academy Control," Sophie announced. "It's urgent." "Put it through," Grant ordered. The voice of Professor Veltar, the tall gray alien who ran the academy, filled the bridge. His words came out in the slow, careful way that Zephyrians always spoke. "Commander Grant, please report to my office immediately. Bring your senior cadets. We have a situation." Jake felt a chill run down his back. Professor Veltar never called meetings during training runs. Something big was happening. "End simulation," Grant commanded. The asteroid field disappeared, replaced by the normal view of space around the academy station. "Morrison, Rodriguez, Kelly, Turner, you're with me. Everyone else return to quarters and wait for orders." The 4 humans followed Grant through the long corridors of the academy. The walls were covered with pictures of famous battles and great ships from dozens of different worlds. Jake always felt small walking past them. The academy had been teaching space combat for over 1,000 years. Humans had only been in space for a few hundred. They entered Professor Veltar's office to find him standing next to Captain Thurok, the massive red-skinned Drachnian who taught weapons and tactics. Both aliens looked worried, which was never a good sign. "Sit down, please," Veltar said, pointing to the chairs around his desk. "We have received a distress signal from the outer rim of the galaxy. A ship has been calling for help for 3 days." "What kind of ship?" Grant asked. "That is the problem," Captain Thurok growled in his deep voice. "The signal identifies the vessel as Corvin." Jake felt his breath catch. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Corvins. They had been one of the most advanced species in known space. Their technology was like magic compared to what most worlds could build. But they had disappeared over 2,000 years ago. Nobody knew why or how. "That's impossible," Amy said. "The Corvins are extinct." "So we believed," Veltar replied. "But the signal is genuine. Our computers have analyzed it completely. It is definitely a Corvin research vessel called the Whisper of Eternity." "Could be a trap," Ryan suggested. "Someone using old Corvin technology to lure ships into danger." "We considered that possibility," Captain Thurok said. "But our long-range sensors show the ship is badly damaged. It appears to be drifting without power. If it is a trap, it is a very convincing one." Grant leaned forward in her chair. "What do you want us to do about it? Nothing, Veltar said firmly. This is far too dangerous for cadets. We will send a full military team to investigate. But the nearest military ship is 6 days away, Sophie pointed out. The distress signal might stop by then. Better to be safe than sorry, Captain Thurrock rumbled. Corvin technology is not something to play with. Their weapons could destroy a planet. Their shields could stop a star. If something made them disappear, it might still be on that ship. Jake could see the frustration on Grant's face. She had worked so hard to prove that humans belonged at the academy. Now the alien instructors were treating them like children again. Commander, Jake said carefully, what if this is exactly the kind of mission we're training for? The academy is supposed to teach us how to handle dangerous situations. This is definitely dangerous. Too dangerous, Veltar repeated. I will not risk cadet lives on something so unknown. The academy motto is, into danger, through danger, beyond danger, Amy added. We didn't come here to play it safe. Grant stood up slowly. Jake could see her making a decision. Professor, with respect, I think my cadets are ready for this. We've been training them for months. They've passed every test you've given them. No, Captain Thurrock said flatly. Absolutely not. Then I'll take full responsibility, Grant replied. If something goes wrong, it's on me, not the academy. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Grant was risking. If the mission failed, she would lose her job. Maybe worse. Very well, Veltar said finally. But you take only human cadets. If you are determined to be reckless, do not drag other species into your folly. Jake felt a mix of excitement and fear. They were going to investigate a real Corvin ship. It was the chance of a lifetime. It was also probably going to get them, all killed. But that was what being human was all about. The Starwind moved slowly through space toward the ancient ship. Jake kept his hands light on the controls as they got closer to the whisper of eternity. The Corvin vessel was huge, almost 3 times the size of their training ship. Its dark, metal hull was covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the starlight. I'm getting some weird readings, Amy said from her station. The ship should be dead after 2,000 years, but there's still power flowing through it somehow. How is that possible? Sophie asked. She was recording everything for their mission report. No power source lasts that long. Corvin technology was different from ours, Grant explained. They could do things we still don't understand. That's why they were so powerful before they disappeared. Ryan was watching the weapon sensors carefully. I'm not seeing any active weapons, but that doesn't mean much. A ship this old might have systems we can't detect. Jake guided the Starwind closer to the alien vessel. The Corvin ship had docking ports, but they were built for much larger ships. Commander, we're going to have to use the emergency airlocks. I can't match with their main docking system. Do it, Grant ordered. But be ready to pull away fast if anything goes wrong. The docking process took 20 minutes. Jake had to use all his training to line up the small Starwind with the massive Corvin ship. When the airlocks finally connected, everyone held their breath. Seals are good, Amy reported. Air pressure is stable on both sides, but the atmosphere over there is really old. It might not be safe to breathe. We'll use breathing masks, Grant decided. Everyone grab emergency gear. This is a real mission now, not a training exercise. They suited up in the small airlock between the ships. Jake checked his breathing mask twice, then helped Sophie with hers. The emergency suits were bulky and uncomfortable, but they would keep them alive if the Corvin ship had problems. Remember, Grant said as they prepared to cross over, we're here to investigate and report back. We're not treasure hunters. Touch only what you need to touch. Record everything. The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. Jake stepped through first, his boots making loud clanking sounds on the metal floor of the Corvin ship. Emergency lights came on automatically as they entered, casting long shadows down the corridor. The ship knows we're here, Ryan said, his hand moving toward his weapon. Those lights didn't turn on by themselves. Easy, Grant warned. The distress signal is still broadcasting. Something on this ship wants to be found. They moved slowly through the corridors. The walls were covered with the same glowing symbols they had seen on the outside. The symbols seemed to pulse with a soft blue light that matched their heartbeats. "This is incredible," Amy whispered, running her scanner over the walls. "The entire ship is like one giant computer. Every surface is connected to the main system." "What kind of system could run for 2,000 years?" Sophie asked. "Something that doesn't need repairs," Jake answered. "Something that can fix itself." They followed the corridor deeper into the ship. The walls gradually became more organic looking, less like metal and more like living tissue. The glowing symbols became brighter and more complex. "I don't like this," Ryan muttered. "It feels like we're walking into the belly of some giant animal." "The distress signal is coming from the center of the ship," Grant said, checking her equipment. "We need to keep going." After 10 more minutes of walking, they reached a massive circular chamber. In the center stood something that took their breath away. A crystal the size of a small building pulsed with brilliant light. The crystal was beautiful and terrible at the same time, like a frozen piece of lightning. "What is that thing?" Jake asked. Amy's scanner was going crazy. "It's alive," she said in amazement. "Not just a power source, it's actually alive. The readings show brain activity, nervous system responses. This crystal is thinking." The moment she said those words, something incredible happened. A voice spoke inside their heads, not through their ears, but directly into their minds. "Welcome," the voice said. It was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. "I have been waiting so long for visitors who could hear me." The 4 humans looked at each other in shock. Commander Grant stepped forward slowly. "Are you the source of the distress signal?" "Yes," the voice replied. "I am what your people would call the heart. I am the central intelligence of this vessel. I have kept it running since my creators died." "You're Corvin?" Sophie asked. "I was created by the Corvins, but I am something more. Now, when the last of my creators knew they were dying, they chose to join with me rather than let their knowledge disappear. I contain the memories and consciousness of 300 Corvin scientists." Jake felt a chill run through him. "You mean there are dead people inside that crystal?" "Not dead, transformed. They live on within me, sharing their knowledge and experience. Together we have waited for a species worthy of inheriting what the Corvins learned." "Why us?" Grant asked. "Why humans?" The heart's light pulsed brighter. "For 2,000 years I have tested every species that found this ship. The Zephyrians were too logical, unable to make choices without perfect information. The Drachnians were too aggressive, wanting only to use knowledge as a weapon. The Centaurians were too cautious, afraid to take necessary risks." Amy stepped closer to the crystal. "What made humans different?" "You combine logic with emotion in ways no other species does. You can be brave when bravery is needed, but you also care about others more than yourselves. You solve problems by working together, not by dominating others." Ryan wasn't convinced. "How do you know all this about us? We just got here." "I have been watching human transmissions for decades. I have seen your wars and your peace treaties. I have watched how you treat other species, how you learn from them instead of trying to control them. You are what the Corvins hoped to become but never achieved." The crystal began to pulse faster. "I can give you technology that will make humanity the most powerful species in the galaxy. Weapons that can destroy stars, shields that can protect entire planets, ships that can travel between galaxies in days instead of years." Jake felt his excitement building. This was beyond his wildest dreams. Humanity could become the rulers of the galaxy. But something in the heart's voice made him hesitate. "What's the catch? There's always a catch." The heart was quiet for a long moment. "The knowledge can only be given to pure humans. No aliens can be present when the transfer happens. And once you receive it, you will no longer be able to form emotional bonds with non-human species. The technology responds only to human thoughts and feelings." Sophie gasped. "You mean we'd have to abandon our alien friends? Forever?" "It is the price of power," the heart said simply. "Choose wisely. Other ships are approaching this location. You do not have much time. The four humans stood in silence, staring at the massive crystal. The heart's offer hung in the air like a heavy weight. Jake could feel his teammates struggling with the same thoughts that were racing through his mind. How long do we have to decide? Grant asked. The approaching ships will arrive in 4 hours, the heart replied. After that, the opportunity will be lost forever. The knowledge can only be transferred when the conditions are perfect. Ryan was the first to speak up. Commander, we have to think about our duty to humanity. This technology could solve every problem Earth has ever faced. We could protect our colonies from alien attacks. We could explore the entire galaxy. At what cost? Sophie shot back. We'd become monsters, cut off from every alien friend we've ever made, unable to feel anything for other species except coldness. Amy was running her scanner over the crystal, trying to understand how it worked. The heart is right about one thing. This technology is incredible. The power readings are off the charts. One ship with this technology could defeat an entire fleet. Jake thought about Clicktar, the bug-like alien who had helped him with his engineering homework. He thought about Splash, who had taught him how to navigate underwater planets. These weren't just classmates, they were friends. Real friends. What happened to the Corvins? Jake asked the heart. If this technology was so great, why did they disappear? The crystal pulsed dimly. They became too isolated, too focused on their own advancement. In the end, they had no allies when the great plague struck their worlds. They were powerful, but they were alone. And you want us to make the same mistake? Sophie demanded. I want you to learn from their errors, the heart said. But the choice must be yours. Grant walked closer to the crystal. What if we refuse? What happens to all this knowledge? It dies with me, the heart answered. I am old, even by Corvin standards. This ship will not survive much longer. When I fade, everything the Corvins learned will be lost forever. The weight of that statement hit them all. Thousands of years of scientific advancement gone forever. It seemed almost criminal to let it happen. There has to be another way, Amy said. Some compromise. Some way to save the knowledge without giving up our humanity. There is not, the heart said firmly. The technology is linked to emotion and thought patterns. It cannot function properly. With mixed species input, it would become unstable, dangerous. Ryan turned to face his teammates. Look, I know this is hard, but we're talking about the survival of the human race. There are species out there that could wipe us out if they wanted to. With this technology, we'd never have to fear anyone again. Fear isn't always bad, Sophie argued. Fear keeps us humble. It keeps us working with others instead of trying to dominate them. Jake felt torn in half. Part of him wanted the power, wanted to make humanity the strongest species in the galaxy. But another part of him remembered why he had joined the academy in the first place. It wasn't to become superior to aliens. It was to prove that humans could work alongside them as equals. What about our friends back at the academy? Jake asked. Ryan, Clicktar helped you fix your combat simulator last week. Splash saved your life during that underwater training mission. You're going to throw all that away? I'm trying to save humanity, Ryan replied. Sometimes that means making hard choices. Amy looked up from her scanner. I'm detecting energy fluctuations in the heart. It's getting unstable. The stress of this conversation is affecting it. The crystal's light began to flicker. Warning alarms started sounding throughout the ship. You must decide soon, the heart said, its mental voice weaker now. The approaching ships are moving faster than expected. They will arrive in 2 hours, not 4. Grant checked her communication device. It's Professor Veltar and Captain Thurok. They're coming in the Academy's fastest ship. They're risking their careers to save us, Sophie said. They could get in serious trouble for leaving the Academy without permission, or they're coming to stop us from getting the technology, Ryan countered. They've never wanted humans to be equal to other species. This is their chance to keep us weak. Jake shook his head. That's not true. Professor Veltar spent extra time helping me with my navigation training. Captain Thurok recommended me for advanced combat classes. They want us to succeed. The ship shuddered around them. The heart's flickering was getting worse. The decision is tearing the heart apart, Amy warned. If we don't choose soon, the whole ship might explode. Then we choose, Grant said firmly. We're the senior class. This is what we trained for, making the hard decisions. So what's it gonna be? Ryan asked. Do we take the power and save humanity? Or do we let it all die for the sake of alien friendships? Jake closed his eyes and thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. The Academy had taught him more than just how to fly ships and fight battles. It had taught him what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of different species. Humans weren't special because they were stronger or smarter than everyone else. They were special because they could look at a bug-like alien or a fish-like alien and see a friend instead of an enemy. They could work together with species that were completely different from them. I know what we have to do, Jake said, opening his eyes. But none of you are going to like it. The heart's light flared brighter, sensing his decision. Tell me, young human, what is your choice? Jake looked at his teammates, at Commander Grant, at the incredible crystal that held the knowledge of an entire civilization. We're going to try to save everyone. The knowledge, our friends, and our humanity, all of it. That is impossible, the heart said. Maybe, Jake replied. But we're human. Impossible is what we do best. The ship shuddered again, more violently. This time, through the chamber's windows, they could see lights approaching in the distance. The rescue ships were almost there. How? Amy asked. How do we save everything? Jake smiled, the plan forming in his mind. We're going to show the heart what it means to be truly human, and we're going to do it before this ship tears itself apart. The crystal pulsed once, brightly, as if it was curious to see what these strange creatures would try next. Jake stepped closer to the flickering crystal. The heart's light was growing weaker with each passing moment. The ancient ship groaned around them as systems began to fail. You want to understand humans? Jake said to the heart. Then let me show you something. Amy, can you connect your scanner to the heart's communication system? Amy's fingers flew over her equipment. I think so, but why? What are you planning? Trust me, Jake said. He activated his communication device and switched to the emergency frequency that connected to the Academy. Clicktar Splash, can you hear me? The reply came through with static and interference, but it was clear enough. Jake, you are alive. It was Clicktar's clicking voice. We were so worried. The professors left to find you, but we thought you might be dead. We're okay, buddy. But I need your help. Both of you. Can you access the Academy's communication system and patch through to our location? Of course. Splash's watery voice bubbled through the speaker. Anything for friends? Amy looked confused. Jake, what are you doing? The heart said the technology only works with pure human emotions. That's because the heart doesn't understand what human emotions really are, Jake replied. He turned back to the crystal. You've been studying humans from a distance. You've watched our movies and listened to our radio signals, but you've never experienced what makes us truly human. The heart's light pulsed weakly. Explain. Our strength doesn't come from being pure or separate, Jake said. It comes from our connections with others, even aliens, especially aliens. Through Amy's scanner connection, Jake could hear more voices joining the communication channel. Not just Clicktar and Splash, but other alien cadets from the Academy. They were all talking at once, worried about their human friends. The human cadets are in danger, came the voice of Zex, a plant-like alien from the agricultural worlds. We must help them somehow. If only we could reach them, added Vorth, a crystalline being from the asteroid colonies. Sophie caught on to Jake's plan. Heart, can you hear them? Can you feel how much they care about us? The crystal's light flickered, but not from weakness this time. It was surprise. These aliens, they are genuinely concerned for your welfare. They are not pretending. Of course they're not pretending, Ryan said, finally understanding. They're our friends, real friends. We've trained together, studied together, helped each other through the hardest parts of Academy life. Through the scanner, More alien voices joined the conversation. Stories began pouring through the connection. Clicktar talked about how Jake had helped him understand human humor. Splash described how Sophie had taught her about human art. Dozens of aliens shared memories of kindness and friendship from their human classmates. The heart's light began to change. Instead of the cold blue glow, it started showing warmer colors: gold, green, purple. "I do not understand," the heart said, its mental voice filled with confusion. "The Corvins taught me that emotional bonds with other species made you weak. That pure focus on your own kind was the path to strength." "The Corvins were wrong," Grant said firmly. "And that's why they died out. They became so focused on being superior that they forgot how to work with others." Amy's scanner started beeping rapidly. "The heart's energy patterns are changing. It's becoming more stable, not less." Jake pressed his advantage. "Heart, you said you contain the memories of 300 Corvin scientists. But those memories are 2,000 years old. They're from a time when the Corvins thought they had to be better than everyone else. What if there was another way?" The crystal began to pulse in rhythm with the alien voices coming through the communication system. "You would share this knowledge with other species? Even though it would mean humans would not be the dominant power in the galaxy?" "That's exactly what we do," Sophie said. "Because that's what friends do. They share. They help each other. They make each other stronger." Suddenly, new voices joined the communication channel. Professor Veltar and Captain Thurok were calling from their approaching ship. "Human cadets, respond immediately," Veltar's careful voice commanded. "Your ship's energy readings are off the charts. What is your situation?" "We're trying to save everyone, Professor," Jake replied. "Including you." "What does that mean?" Captain Thurok growled. Through the scanner connection, Jake began explaining what they had found. The heart, the Corvin knowledge, the terrible choice they had been given. As he talked, he could hear the alien instructors' shock and amazement. "Fascinating," Veltar said after Jake finished. "A living repository of Corvin science. The research possibilities are incredible." "The military applications alone," Captain Thurok began, then stopped. "No, that is the wrong approach. This knowledge belongs to all species, not just one." The heart's light flared brighter than ever before. "Even your teachers understand. They could claim this technology for their own species, but they choose not to. Because we're all in this together," Jake said. "Humans, Zephyrians, Drachnians, everyone. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to be strong." The ancient ship stopped shaking. The warning alarms fell silent. The heart had stabilized completely. "I understand now," the heart said, its mental voice filled with wonder. "The Corvins were brilliant, but they were incomplete. They thought strength meant standing alone. But you humans have shown me that true strength comes from standing together." Amy's scanner showed energy levels rising throughout the ship. "Heart, what are you doing?" "I am making a new choice," the heart replied. "Instead of giving all the knowledge to one species, I will share it freely with all who prove worthy. The Corvin science will not die, but it will not be used to create a master race either." Through the communication system, they could hear excited chatter from the Academy. Aliens and humans talking together about the possibilities, already planning joint research projects. "There is one more thing," the heart said. "I have been alone for 2,000 years, carrying the burden of all this knowledge. Would you allow me to join your academy, to finally have the companionship the Corvins never understood?" Jake looked at his teammates and saw the same answer in all their eyes. "Welcome to the team, Heart." Professor Veltar's voice came through the communicator, sounding almost amused. "I suppose we will need to build a very large dormitory room." As the rescue ships docked with the ancient vessel, Jake felt a deep satisfaction. They had found something more valuable than ultimate power. They had found proof that the human way of doing things worked. Not through domination or superiority, but through friendship and cooperation. The heart would come to the academy, bringing knowledge that would benefit every species. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would become a little bit more human in the best possible way. "Mission accomplished," Jake said, grinning at his friends. "Now let's go home."